kind invitation to be here with you today to officially turn the sod on this wonderful development that is going to transform this part of Balbriggan.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Quinlivan. I'm Director of Economic Enterprise Tourism and Cultural Development here with Fingal County Council. Just want to welcome you, everybody here. First of all, Mayor, Minister, elected councillors, Oireachtas members, Chief Executive, and assembled guests and members of the Balbriggan Leadership Group. So normally I say an awful lot at these things as MC, but we've got 5 speakers today, so I'm going to be merciful and say very little. So just in terms of what's going to happen, the Mayor is going to open the proceedings with a few words. The Minister will speak next. David Begg, the new chair of the Balbriggan Leadership Group, will say a few words. Victor Smith on behalf of Products, the contractors, and then Anne-Marie Farley, the Chief Executive. Without further ado, I'm going to just introduce the Mayor, Councillor Adrian Henshaw.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks very much, John. Diego, I'm delighted to be here this morning in Balbriggan again. I've been down here a few times in my term as Mayor. It's going to come to an end in the next few weeks. I want to just firstly acknowledge somebody who's been around Balbriggan and has stood in for me on many an occasion, and is always at the heart of Balbriggan, and that's been Deputy Mayor Grania Maguire there. So delighted to join Grania here this morning for this event in Balbriggan. Just to acknowledge fellow public representatives that are here as well this morning there. Delighted to see Senator Lorraine Clifford Lee, Senator Regina Doherty, and then local councillor colleagues there, Tony Murphy, Councillor Karen Power, Grania as well, I think. Is that, have I left anyone out? And of course Councillor Tom O'Leary as well there. Welcome them all, and to thank them for all they do, and particularly within their own electorate area there. Grania, Tony, Tom and Karen there have been huge supporters and have put in a huge amount of work in supporting all the work here around our Balbriggan. And also obviously a huge thanks to my colleague and friend, and somebody who I've joining on a lot of Fridays, which is great. I'm going to miss them now in a few weeks there, but I'm sure he's maybe not going to miss me. But just to very much start thanking my colleague Minister Darragh O'Brien for joining us here today, Chief Executive Anne-Marie Farley, Dr. David Begg, who is the new chair of the Balbriggan Leadership Group. Delighted to see David taking up this prestigious role, and somebody with the vast experience that he brings from his career in public service, and I'm sure he's going to greatly add to this major project and major boost for Balbriggan. So on that, it's a great pleasure, and also as well just to acknowledge John Quinlivan there from the Director in Fingal County Council, the Chamber of Commerce here in Fingal, the Balbriggan team, and everybody who's joined us here this morning from across Balbriggan. It's with great pleasure that I stand before you to mark a momentous occasion as we get the Quay Street regeneration project up and running in earnest with today's groundbreaking. We're not just turning soil, we are turning a massive new and exciting page for the Balbriggan community. This initiative is a vital part of the transformation of Balbriggan, part of a visionary framework that promises to reshape not only Ireland's but Europe's youngest town into an even more vibrant, inclusive and prosperous place. The Quay Street project exemplifies our commitment to revitalising Balbriggan, making it a beacon of cultural and economic activity, and it's designed to enhance the very heart of one of the fastest growing regions in the country. The introduction of new landscaping and seating areas will transform where we stand into a lively public space where community life will thrive. By developing new amenities and enhancing the existing infrastructure, we are setting the stage for Balbriggan to become a premier destination for both locals and visitors alike. I know for many of you this has been a long time coming, and it has only been made possible thanks to your collaboration, your work and your community spirit. So to Fingal County Council, the project planners, architects and most importantly to the people of Balbriggan, whose insights and feedback have been invaluable, I say a massive thank you for keeping this vision going. As we break ground on this project, we are planting the seeds for a future that cherishes its history while boldly embracing the opportunities of tomorrow. Let us continue to work together, support each other, and watch as Balbriggan continues to grow into a thriving community we all know that it can be. So once again, thank you for being part of this journey. I look forward to seeing all the progress taking place over the next couple of years, and the delivery of what will be as much needed and high quality public focal point here along the Fingal coastline. Good Margaret.
Díobh Galer Majin Curran Fairfalche Balbriggan Majin Ewan. Good morning everyone and welcome to Balbriggan here this morning. I think vi may own Trivlin O'Hin nor Hjolmer on Chunskadal Shoka Ifigul. I think it was 3 years ago when we were here, and I was talking to Jerry in the midst of COVID actually, and we were all 2 meters distant standing here on a cold day when we announced the investment for this project through the URDF, and I recognise my colleagues who are here from the department. I think I'm standing in a bit of a hole here. I'm usually a bit taller than that, but just so you know. Anyway, this is it. No, it's great to be here. It really is, and I think the Mayor has mentioned we've kind of turned Fridays into what I would term Fingal Fridays as well over the last time, so it kind of drives the lads in Fingal. I'm sure it puts a little bit of pressure on them, but this is a really fantastic day for Balbriggan, a town that's very close to my heart as well. Born and reared in Fingal, and it's a wonderful town, and I want to acknowledge the presence, if I could, firstly is the Mayor of Dunov, the public reps who are here, and if we could start firstly with Balbriggan councillors, if you don't mind, Councillor Tony Murphy and Councillor Grania Maguire, Councillor Tom O'Leary, Councillor Karen Power, and we have our Senator Lorraine Clifford Lee and Senator Doherty, and my good friend Sinead Lucy Brennan here as well, and Anya Ella Owen, and obviously our Mayor, who's the main man here. So thanks very much. But it is a wonderful town, and this is a wonderful project. To David Begg and the Balbriggan leadership team, to commend you for all the work that you've done so far, and indeed the Balbriggan team, and Anne-Marie Farley and the leadership that Anne-Marie has shown here in Fingal County Council in accessing the Urban Regeneration and Development Fund. And it's really fantastic. It gives me great heart here to actually see the works that are happening within Balbriggan. We've already substantial works happening in Swords as well. So this funding is about, through the URDF fund, the Urban Regeneration Development Fund, about 15.5 million through that fund, and a total investment of more than 27.5 million. And that is very, very significant, and you know, so important for a growing town here. Like if you look at the demographics in this area, that we've had community engagement that's really been unprecedented through our Balbriggan. About 4,000 people, or just under 25% of the town, over the age of 11 that is, all involved in actually having their say about what they want to see happen to their beautiful town here in Balbriggan. And the Quay Street and Harbour area rejuvenation project will lead to a rejuvenated Quay Street and the surrounding area, down to the former nightclub building at the harbour, which some of us might have known years ago in our youth, which is now gone, thank God. So in a Ceausescu-like move, we've demolished anything like that we don't need anymore, and it will be transformed into a multi-purpose, family-friendly space. The harbour here is magnificent, and the beach here as well, and we're doing a lot of work on it. We've new wastewater treatment pumping station that's going to deal with a lot of the issues that we've had here. But if you think about it, there's so few towns that you can walk from the centre of the town down to a working harbour down here, which has such character. Our Great Northern Railway here behind us, and a magnificent beach. So it has everything. We have a young population here, a diverse population, lots of really great work going on here. And I was actively involved with Tony and Grania in particular when we were chaired the task force here for the last 10 years, and have recently hung up my boots on that. But you can see the brilliant community work that's happening here in a growing place, new people moving in, setting down their roots for the homes that they need. And just to mention briefly on housing, if I could, the lads who I was with in Wicklow will forgive me yesterday for mentioning this again, but we are making real progress, like significant progress, and we see it here in spades in Fingal. We've built over 100,000 new homes in this country in just 3 years, and we're going to do more than that this year, significant housing delivery, much of that here in Fingal, here in Balbriggan in the North County area. And that's why it's so crucially important that we ensure that the facilities that we have are meet the needs of our people. And this public realm project here, to bring the town into the Quay area and the Quay Street area, and then as we go further up for the linear park in the town up by De Bruins, we're going to have a walk there. It's transformative, and it really is transformative. And I would genuinely like to thank everyone involved to bring this project to site. Obviously Fingal, Anne-Marie, yourself and your architects, the design teams, quantity surveyors, consultant engineers, and really importantly the local and community groups who've been involved in this. And I just have to say that well, I remember when we announced this about 3 years ago, there's some degree of positive skepticism, if I could say at the time. See, well, would this really come to fruition? We're seeing the changes now happening in Balbriggan and in our towns right the way across Fingal, but specifically here, so people can actually see it happen. And that's why the leadership team under David Begg, who commands immense respect from everyone in the Fingal area, no better person to lead that through and to work with our team here. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here. I have to say to the contractors and the designers, particularly the contractors, the people who be doing the work, I want to wish you all the very best and just ensure that the project comes in on time and under budget, which the lads have already assured me that is absolutely going to happen. Thank John Quinlivan here as well. John has been very brief here today, which he usually is, but the economic development team in Fingal are really at the cutting edge of innovation here. They understand the importance of improving the areas in which we live as well, that can attract more jobs, attract more people into this area. And thankfully now in this country, not without our challenges, but we have near full employment. We have a growing economy, a growing indigenous economy as well, with start-up businesses here, many of them located here in this area as well. So I want to thank you so much for the kind invitation to be here with you today to officially turn the sod on this wonderful development that is going to transform this part of Balbriggan and indeed beyond.
Thanks, Minister. The 27 million that the Minister mentioned is the Department's contribution to the URDF fund, which is 75%. Fingal County Council contributes another 25%, but that's not the only money that's being spent in Balbriggan. There's a variety of other capital investments going on. The 27 million is not just for this site, it's for 7 different projects around the town. The Minister mentioned De Bruins, and you'll see that shortly, but the governance structure we have in place was held up as an example of best practice in the town centre first policy of the current government, and the governance structure is headed by a group called the Leadership Group, which has various agencies, community interests, business interests, and representatives from the local authority involved. It has recently changed chair, and Dr. David Begg is the new chair, so I'll introduce David now to say a few words.
Morning, everybody. It's a great privilege to be asked to share a platform with the Lord Mayor, and the Minister, and to recognise this very distinguished audience, consisting as it does of representatives of Oireachtas Éireann and the County Council and the local community, and my colleagues from the Leadership Group and many other bodies, including the Chamber of Commerce and so on, together with the representatives of the County Council, both official and elected members. So I'm really very, very pleased to be here this morning with you. When John and Anne-Marie asked me to take over this position, I was very honoured, I have to say, not least because I was following in the footsteps of Professor Breen McCreight, who is a very well-known figure and very respected figure, and I was very conscious of the fact that under his leadership a huge amount of foundational work has been done here in Balbriggan, and in many ways I'm sort of parachuting in to sort of move from the planning stage to the delivery stage and getting the sort of benefits of seeing the changes, the tangible changes that are coming about. I just want to say to all of you gathered this morning, as a citizen, I suppose, of the country, that it's hard to avoid being aware that this is an electoral season at the moment, and a lot of people are running for election. I just want to note my very deep esteem and respect for anybody who puts themselves forward for public office. I think it is a wonderful thing to do, and I think it is just a very difficult role at the moment, as we know from a lot of the reports we hear. So I just want to take the opportunity of saying that it's great for me personally to have the opportunity to work with elected members, and I wish you all well in the election, and particularly, may I say, the members of the leadership group, if I may mention that much. I just want to recognise as well, in recognising the members of Shannon, both of them, Senator Clifford Lee and Senator Regina Doherty. I want to mention Regina particularly because Regina was my boss for a number of years. We worked together when she was Minister for Social Protection. I was chair of the Pensions Authority, and we do the good bit of work together in trying to build the foundations for a new pension system in Ireland, which is taking off now very soon with auto-enrolment and so on. So the role of the Balbriggan Leadership Group, I think, is to provide collaborative leadership, oversight and stewardship for the implementation of the regeneration programme. And it's great for me and a real privilege to work with really super colleagues on this leadership group and on the 5 pillars which feed into it, and with the officials of the council, particularly Declan Ryan, Breffney O'Rourke and Caroline Keane, who are the people that I interact with mostly on a daily basis. And I think our job really, in a sense, is to be sort of like the conductors of an orchestra. We have all these experts working along different pillars of activity, and we have to try to bring them all together in harmony to get a good result at the end of the day. Now, in acknowledging people in political life, I have a confession to make. I actually ran for political office myself one time a few years ago. I ran for the Shannon. But I was up against Michael McDowell, and I was hammered by McDowell. And my transfers elected him, but I've never got over it really. So I'm not secretary of his fan club, but I have to say this: he's a man with very good insights from time to time. And in my rare moments of self-awareness, I'm willing to consider that the voters possibly made the right decision. But anyway, this week he writes a column in the Irish Times, as you know. But this week he was talking about the regeneration of Dublin City and the fact that David McRedmond, the chief executive of An Post, has taken over a sort of a somewhat similar role to myself, voting on a much larger scale. But he spoke about what was needed, and I just want to quote something from his article, which I thought was quite insightful. He said, "We need a radically different way of doing urban renewal. We need vision and a new architectural vernacular. We need positive and an imaginative planning of our streetscapes and urban precincts. We need to encourage people to live in our heritage and protected structures. We need an agency that actively pursues derelict and unused properties for immediate redevelopment." And I would add to that engagement with the community. And if you look at what's happening here in Balbriggan to date, and I claim no responsibility for it, but this is exactly the approach which has been taken here in Balbriggan by the council and by the leadership group. And in that sense, it is really a masterclass in how the whole approach to urban renewal should be taken. So in that sense, I think that what he had to say was useful and well worth reflecting on. Now, to quote somebody else, Yogi Berra, Yogi Berra was a great baseball player in the 1950s in America, and he was famous for these, I think you would call them malapropisms, one of which was, he said, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. So, indeed, I don't know how all of this is going to unfold in Balbriggan, but if I want to just reflect again on something I think which the Minister said, and that is that if you came from Mars and you looked at all the advantages that Balbriggan has, you would say this is a great place with great potential. It's got the coastline and the harbour. Admittedly, a bit of work needs to be done, as we heard from the news yesterday. We have the North-South Economic Corridor, we have the motorway, we have the airport, we have the railway, we have land banks for industrial expansion, thanks to the foresight of John Quinlivan and his economic development team. And we have a great demographic with the youngest town in Ireland. There are places in the world which would give their right arm for a demographic like that. So any far-seeing person thinking of investing in the future should look at Balbriggan and look at what the possibilities are for the future here. I think what we are doing today, we are providing physical capital development, which is essential as an enabler, but it is not the end of the journey. The journey involves building the social capital of the town as well, one interacts with the other. And we need to give people agency in that development, which is everything which has happened so far. You might say we are not at the end of the journey. We're probably at the end of the beginning of the journey, but nevertheless, I think there are great possibilities for us. Last remark I want to make was my first big commercial venture in my lifetime was to buy a Honda 50 for £104, and I bought it called a man called Goff up there on the main street, and I used to come back regularly to get it serviced. And the thought I had was that Balbriggan really has a good commercial heart in it as well, and I think that there are great possibilities now. I mean, maybe a town which has gone through as much, like when I think of it, when I was down here at that time, there's probably a population around 4,000 or 5,000. It's 5 times that at the moment. And you can't expand like that without some economic, social and even cultural consequences. And maybe they should have been addressed before. But they're being addressed now. And there are really good possibilities which will make Balbriggan in the future a wonderful place to live. If we borrow a phrase from a well-known politician, we could say our mission is to make Balbriggan great again. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, David. So David said a lot of the things that are needed for urban regeneration, but one of the things he didn't mention is the need for top-class contractors. So we've been through a fairly arduous procurement process, and Craddock's have come out as a result. We're very happy with the result. We're looking forward to working with them. And Victor Smith is the Senior Projects Director with Craddock's, and he's going to say a few words to you now.
Yeah, lovely, thank you. Mayor of Fingal, Councillor Henchy, Minister O'Brien, Chief Executive Fingal County Council Anne-Marie Farrelly, Chair of the Balbriggan Leadership Group Dr. David Begg, elected members, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here in Balbriggan, breathing in the lovely sea air on this beautiful Friday morning. We would firstly like to congratulate Fingal County Council and the people of Balbriggan on reaching this milestone day and the turning of the sod, which marks the start of construction on the enhancement of the Quay Street, the harbour and the environs area of the town. John Craddock Limited is delighted to be awarded this project. A key consideration of Fingal in selecting a contractor was previous experience of similar type works and the construction knowledge and logistical challenges a project such as this poses. John Craddock Limited has, over a 25-year period, successfully completed over 20 similar projects, including locally in Dundalk, where we've completed 2 projects, Ashbourne and Navan, where we are just finishing our 3rd scheme in the town. We have a good track record in this area, and the management team and workers earmarked for the Balbriggan project all have experience of this type of work, which will be of huge benefit during the construction of the project. The project will inevitably be somewhat disruptive to the local community. We have learned over the years that the more successful projects are where there is good collaboration, good communication, and where there is a willingness to work together to resolve issues. We have no doubt that the team, both from ourselves, the council and the local community, will work together to achieve this. We understand that the local community will have queries and issues due to the works, and whilst the works have to be built within a tight time frame and as efficiently as possible, we will engage with the local community with a view to achieving a solution that is acceptable to both sides. We at John Craddock Limited look forward to working with the employer and their design team on the project, and also into engaging with the local community with a view to getting through the works with as little inconvenience to them as possible. Many thanks for your time. It was a lovely day.
Thanks very much, Victor. So finally, to say a few words, the Chief Executive of Fingal County Council, Anne-Marie Farrelly.
Thank you. I'm taking up the rear, so I'll try and not repeat anything that's been said, but this has been an enormous project for Fingal, an enormous project for our Balbriggan, and a really important project for the local councillors and indeed the national politicians as well. So I want to give it due justice, and I know if I skip some of my speech I'm going to leave out some people, so I want to make sure I cover everything. Mayor, ministers, senators, councillors, you're all very welcome, as indeed is the chair of the leadership group and all the members that have brought this project to where it is today. It's a really good day for Balbriggan, and I want to encourage you first of all to take a look at the boards behind me, and they're further up the street as well, just to understand the scale of this project and to see what Balbriggan will have when it's completed. And delighted to hear Victor mentioning how attentive they're going to be to try and get this project completed to programme, and of course under budget. Listen, it's one of the significant milestones for the URD, our project for our Balbriggan, and indeed for the town itself. When we end up with this reimagined space, it's going to be a real symbol of progress being made of the Our Balbriggan plan. And that was informed and shaped by the community, as many others have said before. And we're going to provide a very well-designed public space so that the people of Balbriggan can enjoy it, and maybe further afield as well, because Balbriggan can be a destination town too. The works we're starting here in Quay Street and at the harbour and on the other side of the viaduct is a key piece of the Our Balbriggan regeneration project, and we'll see the creation of a high quality public amenity and a visitor destination designed to revitalise the town. It's a 4-acre site, and it's going to be unique and sustainable as an open space, and it will also include a multi-purpose plaza area and a linear park to host markets, events and festivals. The project will also see the RNLI boathouse being turned into a coffee shop, as well as the development of the new harbour buildings as part of the effort to generate the increased social and commercial activity throughout the town. And just to note, there's great signs of that happening already. I'm aware of 3 or 4 businesses that are already established in Balbriggan as a result of, I suppose, understanding that this project is going to be delivered, but also the likes of the Lark and the Institute of Music and Song, and many other positive developments, and of course the O'Dwyer GAA development, where people are really committing to Balbriggan and making sure that it has a really, really great future. New public amenities as well, including toilets, changing places, and also the river is going to be front and centre with enhancement works to the River Bracken, new surfacing, increased seating, green and play spaces. So that's what's ahead of us. Delighted that John Product Limited is partnering with us to deliver this public ground project, given the quality of work they've already done, as he mentioned, in Dundalk, Navan and Athlone. And I look forward to coming back here. It's going to be December 2025. If it could be November, it would be better for Christmas for the official opening. So listen, really looking forward to that. There's been a lot of moving parts in this project, as the local community in Balbriggan will know, and I really appreciate the likes of the Chamber of Commerce who have worked with us too. But in Fingal, there's been several teams working hard, making sure that we're ready for this day so that the contractor could get to site without too many complications. So firstly, to pay tribute to John Quinlivan, the director, and all of his staff in the regeneration team. They're under Declan Ryan and the Our Balbriggan team with Breffney and Caroline Keane and many other staff members who've been pulling it all together, trying to make sure that we could get this project to site over the last number of years. Of course, we're very lucky to have a very expert architects department led by County Architect Fionnuala May, with her team Pat Boyle, Michael Gallagher, Sabrina Goldrick and Peter Mackin. They've been working with Paul Keogh and his team, and delighted to have Paul here today as well, and the team from Turner and Townsend to deliver what's going to be a really fantastic project. Whole of council approach, no silos in Fingal, being adopted to planning, design, delivery, and delighted to see our planning department represented by Maliki to here today as well. So good support from our operations department, PSI, active travel, community and finance department. When I say the scale of this works, I mean that included dealing with some issues in the harbour, a lot of challenging work undertaken over the last bank holiday weekend, for example, and we've had difficulties as well, but delighted that we've overcome every obstacle to get here. And then finally, importantly, to thank the local councillors, the Oireachtas members for their support. You've always been supportive of what we were doing. You've pulled us up when we haven't been doing it well or quickly enough, and that's what you're there to do. So you've been strong representatives of Balbriggan, and I really appreciate both your work on the council and your work on the local committees to make sure these projects will happen. The Minister, of course, has had a great interest in Balbriggan and the project, the Our Balbriggan project, and our plans, so thanks to Minister O'Brien as well. So just to say, as John mentioned earlier, this project, as well as others under the Balbriggan Regeneration Programme, are receiving substantial funding from the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage under URDF. That's the Urban Regeneration Development Fund. And the balance is coming from the Council's capital budget. And that's thanks to the Department for being so supportive of the project. And when tenders come in, we're always very anxious to get to site. So I appreciate there's been a lot of intense work with the officials in the department over the last couple of weeks in particular. But you've stuck with us, and we've got through that business planning, cost benefit analysis, and all of those wonderful things to make sure that the project stood up and that the URDF came to Balbriggan. So, and then just to mention the capital programme, it didn't begin today. It began on the first day of the council, of this council, which is almost 5 years ago. You've protected the co-funding from Balbriggan, made sure that it's available now to spend on this project. So I really thank you for that. The investment in this and the other associated projects like De Bruins, the Pocket Park, 2 to 4 Dublin Street, the Boathouse, the Bathhouse, the restorations of the Myrtella Tower, that's a vote of confidence in Balbriggan worth 50 million. And you'll see there's work happening on each and every one of those projects. And I expect the next project to get to site, John, will be Dublin Street. I expect 2 to 4 Dublin Street. So it's not happening in isolation in terms of the rest of Balbriggan. The National Planning Framework has identified Balbriggan as a town that needs greater employment opportunities. I know the Chamber of Commerce are of the same view, as is the Fingal and the Economic Development Department. So we have a substantial land bank now in Stephenstown Industrial Estate. We are about to announce a master plan for that area, which is part of that moving to the next stage of Balbriggan. It's not about will the infrastructure come? It's what are we going to do with the lands when they are serviced and are available for employment, are available for amenities like here. And I know the whole town is ready to move to that next stage with us. Just to mention the Urbach EcoCorp project with 8 other partner cities across Europe, that's going to deliver an action implementation plan to develop and promote Stephenstown so that the people in Balbriggan can find those local jobs. Finally, I can't finish without thanking the members of the Balbriggan Leadership Group, which provides collaborative leadership, challenging leadership too, to us, oversight and stewardship for the implementation of the Balbriggan Regeneration Programme. Thanks to David for coming on board, and we really welcome you, and I know you're going to be a great asset to us. And of course his predecessor, Professor Bree McGrath, who to some extent had a difficult job trying to promote the fact that this project will get to site, will happen, and keep the full ownership of the town to our plans. The leadership programme group now is conducting a review process at the moment. That's to reflect that reality that the projects are happening. They're either on site or about to go on site, and that financial commitment is made. So moving to the delivery stage, what will that bring to Balbriggan? What's the future of Balbriggan, and what can we do to make sure everybody in Balbriggan and beyond understands how the town will be transformed? And I suppose just to acknowledge what we're building on is the heritage of Balbriggan. There's nothing new here other than the fact that we're upgrading what was already established by our ancestors, and which we want to make sure is here for the next 100 years again. So a major milestone in the journey we began back in 2018. Some way to go, but listen, we're really going in the right direction. So thank you everybody for coming, and make sure you understand what this project's going to deliver.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. So just to conclude, I just personally want to thank and congratulate my own team. It's Declan Ryan, Breffney and Caroline. Thanks to our colleagues across the council and to the various partners that we've had throughout all this, and particularly to the Balbriggan Leadership Group and the elected members for the area. You've been challenging to us, as Anne-Marie has said, but and we as officials, we have very well understood all of the amount of invisible work that came in. The Minister mentioned the scepticism at the start, and it was quite strong when I came into this role a couple of years ago. We had been through COVID, and there was energy crises, and there was all sorts of things going on. But what was really going on was the under the surface work that we as public officials have to do before it becomes visible to everybody else, and nobody really understands what the hell it is we are doing in that invisible space. So we're really happy that it's now visible, that works are visible here and elsewhere in the town, and that the confidence in the Our Balbriggan project is now starting to come back in, and Anne-Marie mentioned already the private investment that it's attracting into the town already in preparation for where we're going.